Welcome. This is Judy Donnelly with the artistwriterteller.com podcast. And today I'm going to be interviewing my very good friend, Luster Shell. Now, Luster is originally from Elizabethton, Tennessee, and she served in during the Vietnam War as a nurse in 1967 and 68. So please welcome Luster Shell.
Hi. Good to be here.
Thank you. Now, Luster, you're a nurse, and you got your nursing degree in ETSU?
Yes.
And when was that?
That was in 1965.
Okay. And you worked in which hospital?
I worked in the Johnson City Memorial Hospital, the old Memorial Hospital, as we called it.
And what did you do as a nurse?
As a nurse there, I worked in the OB/GYN department.
Okay. Now, what did you decide to join the Army?
Well, I had a very active recruiter who was out canvassing nurses, and I had a horse. I'd always wanted a horse in my life, and we'd had one for 1 year when I was in high school. My dad got it then. And then when I got out and got a job, I got my own horse, and riding around in Elizabethton, there's just not that much places to ride when you live in the city.
Right.
So I was looking around, where could I go? What could I do? And the recruiter said, Fort Bragg, they have a riding stable. They need nurses. The Army does. We could get you there. We could get your duty assignment at Fort Bragg. And he did. And so we had a horse trailer built, packed up the horse, hauled him over there, put him in the stable. It was a wonderful place. They had all this land and everything you could ride on. I mean, it was a sandy kind of stuff. And I've had places like that to go riding, and all these other people who were riding horses too. It was a blast. And that's why I joined and did that sort of stuff and had a good year. The Army promised me my first duty assignment. They delivered.
Now, when you went in, your basic training that was...
Oh, yes.
So how was that basic training that you went through?
It was, well, at that time, the basic training was supposed to be 8 weeks, but they needed nurses. So they cut our time down to 6 weeks at Fort Sam in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
Basically, they were showing us how to do suturing. I mean, nurses are not going to do suturing, but, it was just part of their curriculum that you had to go through. You practice that on dogs who were anesthetized. They didn't know it. So we tried that. Then you also got to fire a gun. The guys got to fire a rifle. The women got to fire a .45. Those darn .45s jump in your hand. I never shot one before. It's like, wham, way up there. Okay. Did I hit the target? Probably not. But that was not my job. I could hit you with a needle real good. Not with a gun. That's not my MOS. So that was all right. And we were supposed to go through the gas chamber and all this stuff. Well, they kind of did a write-off, you're not going to be into that kind of stuff. If you are, you'll know how to put it on real fast. Okay. Very good. And, they taught us how to march. We were lousy, but we passed. And it was not a big deal. I'm sure our poor manager was not happy with us, but hey, he got us through, got us on board, got us to our duty stations. That was the biggie.
Well, that was a little bit of a surprise for you, wasn't it?
Oh, it definitely was.
And they just signed off things that you didn't actually complete.
You don't really have to do this. Well, okay. That was fine because I didn't want to go through that thing, put that awful gas mask thing on my head.
So when you like you said, you went from boot camp at San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
No, where was it?
It's Fort Sam at San Antonio.
Okay, It was Fort Sam. Okay, yep. And then you went to your first duty station.
Yes.
Did you go home before you went there to get the horse?
Yes, went to the home, picked up the horse, moved over because you had so many days to make to your duty station.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, will you tell us a little bit about what you did at Fort Bragg?
Fort Bragg was a good place to get training in intensive care. Now, okay, remember, I'm an OB/GYN nurse, but that gives you a surgical MOS. So I got a lot of training there in taking care of the people who were having, this major general surgery. We also had people there who had come back from Vietnam with severe injuries that were on their way, to recovery, and dealt with those guys. Worked in the intensive care for a while, and then I worked out on the orthopedic ward where we had the soldiers that uh, had broken bones, things like that, injuries and that. And it was very interesting because they would, the 82nd Airborne is there. That's their home base. And they, do paratrooping. And of course, coming down with the parachutes, you do not always have a great landing and you can break things. And they did. And they came in there and were in traction and all this kind of stuff. And it's, we took care of that.
Now, you said that there was, at one time you had shared with me, that the 101st Airborne did a joint training with the
Yes.
82nd Airborne. So tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Well, now you've got to remember the 82nd and the 101st are like competitors. I'm better than you. And we also had the Green Berets at the 82nd. So, they would take turns going out to Fort Campbell and doing the jumps and the drops of all their equipment and everything. Now, Fort Bragg is a huge complex. I mean, it's a lot. You've got the basic training camps, but you've also got the paratrooper areas. You've got the artillery areas. I mean, you go for miles through there. And a lot of it is just pine trees. We've got a lot of pine forest over there, but we've also got a lot of open area. The interesting thing was when they dropped the tanks and the equipment and everything, they're practicing all this. They've got to know how does it drop and all. The 82nd was doing the drop for the 101st. They put those tanks out in that nice open space. Beautiful. We got a whole bunch of 101st Airborne guys because they dropped them in the pine trees. Now, did they do that on purpose? I don't say that they did. It was just very interesting, all the broken bones we got with the 101st guys in there.
So how long did you stay at Fort Bragg?
It was just about a year. I got orders in June to go to Vietnam, which was very interesting because my captain, she had put in for Vietnam. I mean, she was RA all the way. She wanted to go to Vietnam. It looks good on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't get to go ahead of me. I got to go. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't put in for this. But they said, you go, you go. So it was like, okay. So I sold my horse to a guy who was there. He liked the animal liked him. So it's like, okay, because I'm going to be gone a year. There's no point in trying to find a place for this horse to board him and all in the year. And I'll be doing something else when I get back. So it was like, okay, yeah, we can do this. And I debated about, do I really want to go? And my parents were supportive, said, if you don't want to go, we can talk to Jimmy Quillen. Now, Jimmy was really, really good. I think if I had said, hey, I don't want to go, Jimmy, he would have said, let me just see what I can do about this.
Jimmy Quillen was our state
representative. He was there for a long time. Yes, yeah. Jimmy was a good guy. Or at least he had a good staff. They took care of his
They
his
do
issues.
take care of you.
Yes, they do. But I said, maybe I should go. This will be a real learning experience. It will be an adventure. It's nursing. This will be right in the kind of the heart of the beast. So I packed everything up, and I had the good sense to say, now, when I come back, I don't want to have to pay for all my uniforms and things like that. The things that the Army has given me, they want it back. Now, with enlisted men, it was, part of their stuff. They didn't have to hand it back in. So I took my white nursing uniforms and also the regular green, uniforms that you have there, and the dress uniforms, all this sort of stuff. I packed it all in duffel bags. The Army paid for it. They packed it up and shipped it with me, which was a good thing because when I landed in Vietnam, they said, duty assignments and all this kind of stuff. We need nurses at the 17th Field and the 3rd Field in Saigon, in addition to your other field hospitals. But if you go there to Saigon, you have to wear the whites. Well, most of the nurses had not brought their whites with them. And I said, I have mine. Okay, you can go to 3rd Field. Goody.
That's wonderful.
Yes. I get to live in a civilized place, not in a tent. We had 2 days in those tents out there where you came in. and they had, wooden sides and then the tinted tops. It's like, I don't like this stuff. This ain't air conditioned. This is not good. No, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that that happened. So when you first landed in Saigon, what was the temperature like when you first got there?
It was warm, very warm, and it was the rainy season had started. And actually, we didn't land in Saigon. We landed in the air base outside of it.
Hmm.
So, and then they drove us into Saigon, which was interesting. Just to, you're seeing all this. I'd never been in the tropics before.
Well, at least you were in Fort Bragg. You had a little bit of acclimation because that's pretty warm sometimes.
Yes,
Yes.
but
So,
it definitely was not like Vietnam. That's a different warm.
yeah, it is. So, so do you remember the very first, where did you work in the hospital? And the hospital was a converted school, was that right?
Yes, it was a cantonment type school where they had a lot of different branches, different areas sectioned off, and you walk through a general open area
Mm.
and like almost like an alleyway, but it was covered, which was very nice. I already had the intensive care recovery experience with Fort Bragg, so they put me into the intensive care recovery section, and we had air conditioning.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because not everybody in the building had air
No,
conditioning.
they did not. They had a lot of big fans, but the OR, ER, intensive care, and the how do we call it? The upscale section that was the second level. We had one second level there were air conditioned. The other areas were not.
So you said you got the orders in June, right?
Yes,
And 67. And when did you actually get to Vietnam?
I got to Vietnam in July because I had some leave time that I could take before it was activated. And I did that, went back home, settled up things there, uh, made, power of attorney because you're going to be out of country and you may have some things that need to be taken care of. And I
Mm.
did that with my family and everything, got that squared up, and then went on.
Now did you have a lot of, when you first got there, did you have a lot of wounded soldiers that you had to take care of?
Well, not as many as we had during the Tet Offensive. I mean, it was not a mass casualty type situation. It was just a good steady pace because we got the soldiers from the Delta as the first line. They brought them up, plus other areas around there.
Um, Now, do you remember any particular patient um, that you worked on? And like you have you took a souvenir home, right?
Yes. Well, that was later on in the service there. There was one man who came in, and they had, of course, you got the bullets and all like that. Most of the time, they didn't arrive in our unit. They stayed in the OR. But the anesthesiologist brought this one over, said it's out of him. And I said, oh, okay. So when he woke up, recovered, I said, hey, this came out of you. He says, I don't want it.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, nowadays I can understand. No, I don't want it. He saw it. He didn't want it back. And I said, okay. So I just kept it. I mean,
Is-
it was like, okay, it's a bullet. I don't know what caliber it was. I'm not an expert on that.
Doesn't look like a bullet. I saw the picture.
It was smashed up. That's what happens to bullets when they go in people.
Um,
And so I had that as the souvenir. And he went on back. I have no idea what happened to him down the road, but he didn't make it out of our hospital.
I think that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
you did some um, surgeries on children that were in the area.
Yes. We
Um,
had a plastic surgeon for a while who was there, and he would take care of people who had not just children, but even adults
mhm.
and practice his trade. And there was one young girl, well, I don't know how young she was, but they're little people compared to us. So she looked young. She had been burned in one of these flat stoves. They had the gas stoves, they're propane stoves. And that's when I said, I just don't like gas. But it blew up and she had burns on her hands, her chest, and her face. And it was really bad because her mouth was in like an O where she couldn't really open it. And her eyes, I mean, she had burns on her face and skin. It's just first really bad burn patient that I had seen. And on her hands, that was it was really hard for her because her hands had fingers and the thumb had fused together. I mean, the family, they didn't know how to take care, like spread the fingers, keep them apart. And so she came in, and he worked on her several times. He first worked on her face, opening her mouth, giving her like opening the mouth, doing the muscles and everything, and reshaping her nose so she had an easier time of breathing, and then working with her eyes because she hardly could close, and he gave her really good eyes. That took time to do that, and then he opened her hands. He split the fingers apart and everything. Of course, they were all bandaged up individually and in the bandage. But she came back later and we saw her, and she could use her hands. She had a face. You wouldn't even realize how bad she was unless you'd seen her from like the start to the finish through.
Well, I think
And
that's awesome. So
it was.
the surgeon, the reconstructive surgeon,
Yes.
did you have patients that also, men that served and come in from the battlefields with similar wounds?
They were more traumatic wounds from like gunfire, shrapnel, things like that he worked on that on the reconstruction on the face.
Mm-hmm.
It was more of an initial reconstruction for them because they would be coming back to the States,
Right.
and like to Walter Reed or places like that, and they would be doing the more extensive follow-up reconstruction.
Mm.
He was just like setting the groundwork.
So that's nice that they helped with some of the
Yes.
civilian. Now, there was some of the things that you saw there with babies that were injured and stuff like that.
Yes.
Was that traumatic for you?
It was very upsetting to have the babies coming in. And I can remember one event when the Viet Cong dropped a bomb on the show. Let's see. It was on the orphanage that we supported in the Chinese section of Vietnam. And it hit a lot of the little kids. I was not on duty that day, thank goodness. So they brought them into our triage area where the ambulances came in. And they were going through all the little kids and everything. Some of them did not make it out of triage. The ones that did went into the OR and had the surgeries and everything, and they went through the recovery room. But it was...
That must have been one of the hardest things you
just to see
experienced.
the little kids there with these gaping wounds in their bellies. I was like, it's a different thing when you see it with an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But it was bad to me when it was a kid like that.
Now, we're going to go a little lighter. You were there at the Christmas show for when Bob Hope came.
Yes. We got to go out. That was before the Tet Offensive.
Right. It was in
yes, and we
December of 67, I think it was.
Yes, December of 67.
And who was some of the stars that came during that show and stuff like that?
Oh, gosh. Mainly I remember Bob Hope. I'm not sure of the others.
Well, Raquel Welch was a dancer.
Yeah, she was there. Yeah, oh, yes, Raquel Welch. And she came to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And so did Bob Hope. They came through the third field and, visited with the patients and had pictures taken with them and signed autographs and all that stuff.
The actors and dancers and singers were with the Bob Hope show, but you had other
Oh, yes.
Other actors that came in.
Yeah, the USO shows would bring them through. And it was really a morale booster, both to the staff and to the patients there to have those people coming through.
And there's one picture of you with Fess Parker.
Oh, yes.
From Davy Crockett.
Yes, it was very exciting to meet him because he was, oh my gosh, this guy really is tall. I mean, he was towered over us. And we had one corpsman, he was from Costa Rica. He joined the Army because then he could get U.S. citizenship by doing that. And he was relatively short. And he stood up on a chair beside Fess Parker to see the difference there. But yeah, Fess Parker. And he was really an exception. Most of the people would come through on their way to going up country, as we said. And then they'd go back out, usually through the Tonsanute Air Base. Well, Fess Parker had a layover. And I was working the night shift. And all of a sudden we turned around, and here he is. He said, "Can I come through and visit again?" And we were going, "Well, yeah, hi." It was a surprise because it was not on the schedule. Usually we'd have a schedule. We were having visitors here, get ready for them, get the patients alerted so they could get ready to have a visit. I was like, "Yeah, come on in." So he was one. There were some that would come around twice. Mostly we just got them once because they were on a time schedule and things worked out. Well, his didn't, and he took advantage of it.
I think that's awesome. I saw pictures with you with Sebastian Cabot from
Yes, he
the
was
show
also in
Family Affair.
yes,
Who was James MacArthur from Hope.
Hawaii Five-0.
Yeah,
Yes, he came
Bookham
through.
Dental.
Yeah,
Every time I
yes.
think of it, I think it's funny, Um, and I think that's awesome that he had all these celebrities that came in and to give a morale boost to.
Yes, I think it was wonderful of them to do that, and we certainly appreciated it. And I know the soldiers did too.
Now you did have some R&R time that you went to Saigon a couple of times. Once, how often did you get into the city of Saigon?
Well, at that time we were having one day off a week, so we could go pretty much wherever. It was not there were not really hostilities going on in the town at that time. So we'd go down, take the pedicab, which was really cheap. I don't remember how much, but it's just like, not less than a quarter our money to go downtown and look around and shop and just to look and see and come back.
Now, describe what a pedicab is. So
Okay, that's kind of an open. Think of a motorcycle with two front wheels, except you're sitting in this nice little buggy, and there's a bicyclist sitting behind you who's pedaling and takes you down through there. It's a three-wheeled bicycle, but you're in the front of it.
Oh wow!
And they drive crazy, and they're out there with the cars, and they're with you. And I'm looking. You need an old pedicab driver. He's been around. He's survived. You don't want a young one because he may not make it through.
Because there's a sign outside the post, right?
Yes.
What does it say?
It says you're entering the most dangerous place in the world, the city streets of Saigon. And yes, they're right. And you watch both ways, and these people crossing the streets, pedestrians. I mean, when I moved to New York after getting back from Vietnam, it was like nothing. You ain't seen nothing, guys.
And people up there in New York probably thought it was terrible traffic.
I mean, traffic in New York is terrible, and the pedestrians are crazy. But I thought, nah, after Saigon, nothing phases you like this.
It's kind of interesting. And you, when you go to the market there, what was that like?
Oh, they had all sorts of stuff there. They would have fabrics. They would have all sorts of things for sale, electronics, probably black market, and the food. They'd have all the different kinds of foods. They also had fresh fruits, vegetables, but they also had meats, different kinds of meats. Some of them you could identify, some of them you had no idea, and the fish and the smells. I mean, I never smelled anything like this. It was like, no.
Can you still imagine that smell now?
I don't imagine it now, but if I smelled it, I would recognize it. No.
Yeah. So, that was some of your R&R. You went around some other places too. But let's see. One of the things I found interesting that you had shared with me is about your sunbathing.
Oh, yes. On your days off and during the day when things were slow. I mean, we had a good staff and we could have a few hours off in the middle of the day. We were working the 12-hour shifts. And at that time, I'd still go out and sunbathe. And we lived in an apartment, which had been, a Frenchman's residence. We had different bedrooms, but we had one common area, like a living room and then a kitchen. No, I didn't cook. The Army did that for us. But out at the back, we had like a quote, backyard, and they had a picnic table out there. And you could go out and, do whatever. So I go out and lay out in the sun. Now, in the non-rainy season, you could lay on the ground because it was dry and sunbathe during the day when you were off. But during the rainy season, here's this picnic table, which is above water, but there's probably about a foot of water between you and it. Well, being young and having flip-flops, because you don't want to walk barefooted and that sort of stuff, you're not quite sure what's on that ground. And walk out there to the picnic table, climb up on it, put your towel down, and you can sunbathe on it. And that's what I did.
And what was the temperature?
Well, one day when I was out there sunbathing, I thought, gee whiz, this feels a little bit warm today. I bet we're at 100 degrees. And Radio Vietnam would announce, what the temperatures had been, the past few days and this stuff. So the next day when I was working, we were listening to it. It said, oh, yeah, and yesterday we really hit a record. It was 120 degrees in Saigon. I went, oh, my goodness gracious. I knew it was warm. I had no idea it was that warm.
But you didn't stay out in the sun forever.
No.
Just a little bit.
We'd usually have a couple of hours off, and I'd go out there 30 minutes or so. But it really didn't bother me. And, I mean, the 90s up to 100, it was common there, and it's very humid. But I really adapted. And then when I came back here, we came through Alaska, which was 55 degrees. It was freezing. And then I got home, it's the 1st of July, first part of July, which were warm, but they had a cold spell even in July. And I'm freezing to death and say, Mom, can't we turn the electric heat on at least a little bit? And she says, no, this feels good. We've been so hot. It's been in the 80s and now it's down in the 70s. No, we're comfortable. Put on a jacket.
No pity for you.
Pity whatsoever. But this is cold. I was adapted to the Vietnam's warm temperature.
So now the Tet Offensive happened.
Yes.
What was one of your concerns about being at that hospital before the Tet Offensive, or right during the Tet Offensive?
Yes.
Well, there was a reason why you were your group was concerned, and what was that?
Well, General Westmoreland, his compound was right next to the hospital. And, they like to drop bombs on that place. Well, they missed. They didn't hit us. They hit on the other side, thank goodness. But we said, we'll be happy to give you the coordinates of his place if you'll just give us an address to send him. And besides, he's not even home right now, folks.
Yeah, but you've met General Westmoreland several times. So so who else did you I saw that there's a picture that you took of Bob Hope with Westmoreland given
well, it's actually Win Cao Key.
Oh.
I think he was General Win Cao Key, whatever he was. And his wife, Madam Wei. The Vietnamese women do not take their husband's name. They keep their own name, which was a little bit confusing. But they were in because we had a general who had actually been injured in battle. He'd had some shrapnel injuries. And they came in and gave him his Purple Heart. I mean, if you're a general, you get the bigwigs coming in. If you're a regular soldier, you'll get maybe our colonel from the hospital come in and give you a Purple Heart.
Oh. I thought that picture showed. I know you had that premiere.
Now that was in my unit. Now Bob Hope and the Westmoreland were in the orthopedic section where he came through with that.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes. Well, I think that's a wonderful picture because he did care for the soldiers, even though you didn't like the fact that he was at the next at the compound.
Really that close to us.
Yeah, you really you're not saying that you really wanted him to die
but we just wanted you to have if you're going to do the target practice, do it over there. And he was not in residence that much. He was out. He was really a worker.
Yeah, he was.
And I really do have sympathy for him for losing his son to Agent Orange because his son was in country. Even if he was in a safer area, that's all right. You do what you do.
Yeah. After the major part of the Tet Offensive, you had some leave time, right?
Yes.
And where did you go?
I went to Bangkok, Thailand.
And how long were you there for?
Oh, we had a week.
You had a week.
Yeah. The time out of country like that would vary depending on where you chose to go on your R&R. If you went to Hong Kong, you had more time because you had to allow for travel.
Right.
It was further out. So, no, I chose Bangkok because I thought, it sounds interesting. And it really was. I really enjoyed that time.
So what was one of the most interesting things that you saw there?
A snake. Oh, my gosh. Now, I'm not really, I respect snakes. I like black snakes, don't like rattlesnakes, don't like copperheads at all. And coral snakes I just soon stay away from. But they had this great, big, huge snake there. And I know it was well fed because it was just laying around. It wasn't doing anything. And the guy, for $5, he'd put the snake around you and you get your picture taken with the snake. So I did, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was heavy. It was a boa constrictor. I didn't realize how heavy a snake was, but he draped it around my neck and I held it, head in one hand and tail in the other. We're like, oh my goodness, what have I gotten myself into here? And then he put it down and put it around his little kid. So I thought, okay, it's a safe snake. And then the other fun thing was getting to ride on an elephant.
How was that?
That was exciting. I mean, that was high up. And you've seen pictures of elephants. You've seen elephants in circuses and all. But they had a nice little carriage for you to sit on the elephant with. So it was like, oh, goody, I don't have to, straddle this thing. And the guy sat right behind the elephant's head on his neck and rode you around with it. It was like, it was like wobbling back and forth. And I was like, okay.
Did you feel like you were going to fall off?
No, didn't feel like I was going to fall because they buckled that thing on real good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was sitting up there looking and going, wow, the world does look different from an elephant's back. Wow. It was fun.
And I know there's a picture of you with the sleeping God.
Oh, yes, the sleeping Buddha. Buddha has many different forms. Most of the time, he's the happy Buddha sitting in there with his big belly hanging out. But this one was the reclining Buddha, which was very unusual. And he's got gold leaf all over him. They do a lot of gold leaf there.
Wow. Must have been really pretty.
It was beautiful.
Sometimes the pictures don't do justice for what you saw.
No. And they have incense there. And they have no objections to non-believers or whoever lighting up the incense and putting it down in the little sand box there that they have. As long as you drop a little bit of money in there. Okay, that was fine. And it has a beautiful smell to it.
Wow.
It is. I liked that smell there. Much better than the market in Vietnam.
And in Saigon?
In Saigon, yes. Much better.
Yeah, well, that's good. No, I just thought of something. We didn't talk about some of the soldiers that came in to see you, were they on drugs or anything?
Yes. Yep.
Not prescription drugs, but
the other kind, yes.
And that's kind of dangerous, isn't it? Did they behave okay?
We've got to remember that the marijuana was not as strong then.
Right.
And they restricted when they did it.
Oh.
They were more the drug of choice was alcohol.
Oh.
That would be the ones that would get people into trouble. But yeah, out in the field, the guys did a lot of smoking and a lot of drinking.
Yeah, well, it's kind of scary what they have to go through.
What they went through, and some of the stories they have told me of things they saw. Yeah, were not so good. So yeah.
So you heard a lot of the stories of these soldiers.
And they told us, yeah, I smoked, and there was no drug testing over there as long as the soldiers that I worked with, the corpsmen and everything, when they came in, they were coherent and they were functional. Mm-hmm. I've worked with nurses on stateside that came in that we had problems with, and you kind of recognize the symptoms. It was like, no, you're not taking care of patients today. But these guys, there was an off-duty time, and then there was a serious, we're committed to doing our job time. Mm. So we didn't have that issue there.
Did any of the nurses imbibe in that stuff too?
I've heard that they did. Mm. It was more recreational, and it was not a serious problem.
It didn't cause any problems with taking care of the patients.
No.
Is there any particular story that a soldier told you that you remember that played an impact in your life?
Yes, and I don't know if you'll use this on the video or not, but you're welcome to. Some of the corpsmen who had worked out in the field, they talked about when you had captured Viet Cong soldiers or Vietnamese expected sympathizers with the Viet Cong, that they would be in the helicopter and that they honestly were there and saw this happen, that they would, tell them, people, we need this information, tell us what it is. And if this person, Viet Cong or otherwise, did not, they literally pushed them out of the helicopter. And they had several people up there because, you see the first guy go, okay, this is going to happen to you if you don't do what we want. And I thought, that's horrible. That's awful. And they, you know, it was war, and I don't justify it, but, realistically, that's what happened to get what the information they needed, and I do not approve of it. But what can I say?
Um, now, when the Tet Offensive ended and you were shipped back to the States, where
Yes.
did you go?
I came back and went through San Francisco and was discharged because my duty time was up.
Mm.
But I also made sure because when I was signing out of Fort Bragg to go to Vietnam, there was an Army nurse captain who was coming in, and she said, I want my resign my commission papers to fill out. She had already been out in the Army, out of the Army, and been recalled to come back to work, and she had not volunteered to come back. I said, oh, okay. I need to be aware of that when I come back. So going through San Francisco, I asked for the same thing as this is where you're signing out. And they said, oh, we don't have those papers. And I thought, yes, you do, but I can take care of that. So when I got home, I wrote a resignation letter to the Army. My mother cleaned it up a little bit. She said, no, don't you say it that way. You need to rephrase that. You're saying too much. But basically, I put down, I'm resigning my commission. When it was cleaned up, if I want to come back, I'm sure I can find somebody to get me back in. Don't call me, I'll call you. And
No.
I had added before and the other thing, when hell freezes over. Needless to
Well,
say, I have not called him back.
well, I understand that. There was a talk in Congress at around the time that you went into Vietnam about because they had such a shortage
Mhm.
of nurses. They were actually contemplating having nurses be on the selective services where they were drafted in. Thank God it didn't happen, but they did
No.
consider that.
I mean, you consider all the options. They had the men they could get,
Right, they did do that.
and the men they could get like that. But they offered them a lot, and
Yeah,
it's
it's hard though.
it is very hard.
It's emotionally draining too. Now, when you came back, you did not experience some of the things that other soldiers experienced.
No,
They treated you well.
because I was a nurse.
Right.
And they still needed nurses here. I mean, there's always been a shortage of nurses that I know of. And I'm sure there still is. But yeah, it was respectful with that.
And you've heard some of the stories of what happened to some of the
Oh,
soldiers.
yes.
They treated them so
Yeah.
poorly, and they didn't have a choice, most of them.
No, most of those men were drafted. They had no real choice unless they went to Canada. And how are you going to go to Canada and afford it? Because, you know, you can't get a job as an American in Canada on your own. You have to have the job to go there, or you have to have money. And so that kind of limits your options.
Yeah, it was a terrible thing because I know that several servicemen were spit upon, and
Yeah,
trash was thrown on them, and they were called awful names, and it's really sad.
it's very sad.
So you got out of the when you got home, how was that reunion?
It was wonderful. Came back into the Tri-Cities airport. Wonderful place to get down on and to see the family and everything, and to realize all that was, in the past, and to get back to mom's home cooking.
Oh, that must have been awesome.
It was, and then to decide, I'd already decided I wanted to go to New York City to see what the city life was like and see all those plays and everything. But I spent the summer at home recalibrating, and I worked down here at the Carter County Memorial Hospital.
Hmm.
Worked in the neonatal unit of all places, where the babies were in the nursery. And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious.
Well, it's kind of a change,
It was a big change, but it
So
was taking care of the little crying babies while I did that.
I know when you wrote letters home, you sent photographs and things like that, and you got these wonderful care packages.
Oh, yes.
So would you tell us a little bit about those care packages?
Care packages are very good for soldiers. I mean, you kind of think it's a joke, but it is not. My mother baked cookies. That was a very welcome thing when the cookies came, we were all very happy to get the cookies. And she also made dresses for me. She did some sewing, and we had a basic pattern. It was just get different materials and sew it up and send it over. So I had those to wear. And of course, the letters from home helped, and of course, the phone calls.
So how was that phone call? I mean,
It was by shortwave radio, a relay back and forth. We actually started out on, it was a landline phone there, folks. You don't even know what those are now, but it was relayed to a shortwave radio operator, a Mars call, and you would call in and they'd say, okay, when you were ready, you'd say over, and then they would let the other person come to you, and they'd flip it. They were flipping the switches back and forth for us and listening in on the conversations. And there was like a 12-hour difference between where Tennessee is and where Saigon was. So I'd be calling on the night shift over there to their day shift. Over here, it was like, oh boy.
it's a big difference.
It was a big difference.
Now, they must have heard all the stories of the Tet Offensive and all the, so they may have been really nervous of you.
What they were seeing on the news, the TV, and I don't know how accurate it was, but it was really bad, yeah. So when we could get a call over and say, we're doing fine here, we're okay. We were not in a safe area, but we were safer, as that kind of a reference, is all things considered.
Right.
Yeah, and I would call and say, whenever we get a call, call it out.
They said about 1,600 some plus people went through the third hospital to go on their way to the States, and they went to different places for the varying types of surgeries.
Right, different injuries and things like that. For a while there, we had a neurosurgeon at our hospital, so they were sending people with head injuries into spine injuries into our area, and then evacuating them out, because he did the first cleanup surgeries. Because you've got to remember, if you've got a bullet in the brain or you've got shrapnel that's hit your head, you need to get that out, get it stabilized, and then ship them to where the long-term care is going to be. Or if you've got a spinal cord injury, you try to get them out of there as fast as you can so they get them back home. But you've got to stabilize the back and move them on.
Wow, that must have been very challenging. And I bet during that time you didn't have a day off.
No, we did not. For, several months we did not have a day off. That's why they really would let us go out for a few hours off during the day as a break. Well, so that was, they try their best. But when you're in, quote, stress emergency situations like this, you do what you have to.
Yeah, you do.
And we were young.
I know.
Early 20s. Oh my gosh, those were long gone.
Well, it's I'm really grateful that you're sharing this. Now when you came back, you took advantage of some of because now they know the dangers of Agent Orange.
Yes.
And so you went to the VA to get evaluated?
Yes. Well, actually, it was, years later. It's only about 2 years ago that I became aware of it. And I only did that because my brother-in-law, who was in the Navy, had been, short time in Vietnam, and he was having some of the symptoms. And I thought, well, gee, with his physical conditions right now, if they could get some VA benefits, it would help them. So that's why I went to David Batchelder and asked him, what kind of stuff could you do? And he gave me the website and everything and said, tell your sister to go there. I said, oh, thanks.
Now, who is David Batchelder?
He was the VA benefit person up here in Carter County for years.
Okay.
He's since retired.
Right.
But she went on the site, because I'm not computer literate, working on things like that. And she was looking up and pulling up, said, yeah, Calvin would qualify. But you qualify too. And I said, no, I don't. I wasn't exposed to Agent Orange. I said, yes, you were. The VA says you were.
You were, actually, because Agent Orange gets on the body and you can transfer it.
I mean, we had people that came in from the Delta and from all the outlying stuff. I said, I wasn't out there in the field. I was in a hospital. I said, yes, but you took care of them. You took care of their clothes. Well, yeah, I mean, their clothes came with them.
Yeah.
And we had to, clean up. Oh, well, okay. Yes, I guess I was. And it turns out, yes, the heart conditions that I have or could be caused by Agent Orange. So I jumped through all the hoops that the VA puts you through. I mean, it was, it's a very long-term process, but it was worth it. And I kept going through it because if I don't do this, my baby sister will not let me live it down. She'll say, you should have done that. You could have gotten that. And she is a nag. So she has a memory like an elephant and doesn't forget and comes up and I'm going, what is she bringing up? I don't remember that. Oh, I can vaguely remember that. But she remembers it like it was yesterday. So I did it, and I do get VA benefits for this. And I said, oh, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you very much. I mean,
It's a little late, but it is, it's really good though, because there's a lot of people that served in Vietnam.
yes,
And there are people that have served in Vietnam. There's no record of them serving
there
because
are.
they covered it up.
Well, and then too, they didn't do all the paperwork. They're like, we don't like to do the paperwork. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is keeping all that data going down.
You know, and Agent Orange was a very bad thing.
It was.
It's a long-term effect, and it causes all kinds of cancers and heart
Yes,
disease.
and things that you don't realize at the time.
Right.
And it's now we're coming up, and thank goodness the VA and the government are admitting that, yes, these could be related to that. We will take care of you.
I think that's awesome
I do
that
too.
they're doing now, but
I
it
do.
wasn't so much at the time.
No,
Sometimes our government doesn't always protect our service members.
no, they don't.
If you were to do this all over again, would you still do the same?
Honestly, I guess I would. I really, yes, I think I would because knowing what I know now, I know it was an experience that really helped to shape my life. And I'm not, and looking back over my whole life, would I do some things differently? If I knew what I knew now, then yes. But with the information I had then, that's what I had to base it on. And I don't have any regrets that I
Right.
did it.
Right.
I really don't regret. I mean, I do regret some of the things that I did, but I can live with them, say that I'm sorry I did that. Yeah, it was not a good thing to do then. And it's not just with Vietnam and things, but it's all other stuff.
Yeah.
But
Life.
it's life, yes, and I'm going to make better choices. Yes, I am in the future.
Now, you said that when you came back and you readjusted, some people when they came back, they weren't they didn't readjust to civilian life
No,
as well as others. And I know that you didn't have those types of experiences. But when you went to New York, did you work with some Vietnam veterans?
no, I didn't really run into the Vietnam veterans there. It wasn't until I came back here to Tennessee, and actually in Florida, I ran into a lot of them there.
Oh, you went to Florida too?
Yes, I moved to Florida after New York.
How long were you in New York?
I was in New York for 3 years.
Okay. And you worked at a hospital
At
there?
a hospital there, the French hospital.
Oh.
Which is in the Godfather movie. And yes, those black and white tiles that you see in the Godfather movie, nurses who were there way back when said, yes, they were there. So I said, oh, okay. And the interesting thing, I looked at if we had a mass casualty event, because we were just, we were on 33rd Street and the Madison Square Garden was on up from us. If there had been any sort of a disaster or anything there, some of the patients would have come to us. And they had a mass casualty triage design. And I read it over and I laughed at it. From my experience in Vietnam, they didn't have a clue about how to handle a mass.
Did you help them?
No, I just let it go.
Oh.
I was working in the intensive care. I said, it'll be fine. We won't have a mass casualty. They can't send us that many because we're not equipped for it. But then when I went to Florida, because my younger sister was pregnant and was going to have my niece, and I said, well, I want to be there. It's family down there. It's warmer in Jacksonville. It was cold in New York City. And so I moved down there. There I ran into some veterans from Vietnam and everything. And it was very interesting because they had problems. And they'd come in and they'd be whining and complaining. And I would say, I was a nurse in Vietnam. And they'd go like, you were? Oh. And they shut up about complaining. It's like, well, I guess this doesn't fly here.
Well, sometimes I think they can relate to you from your
Yes.
experience in Vietnam,
Yes.
and some of these other people don't understand what they went through, so they may
No.
whine to them to try to clarify some of the things that
Yes.
the things that they went through. But then there are always people that complain about things.
Oh, I complain about things. I don't blame them, but just don't try and, you know, tell me that just so I'm so horrible, I'm still hanging on to this. Okay, it's a problem, deal with it.
Yeah,
And a lot of people have trouble dealing with it, but there is help out there. Even the VA offers them help
there's
on
a lot of
that.
help nowadays.
Yes.
There's a lot of organizations in Carter County and in Johnson City.
Yes.
We do have the VA Mountain Home here.
And there are still people that may have, and it may not be from the Vietnam War, but there are other wars that will have similar stuff because it dawned on me, my gosh, I had an uncle. He was in the First World War. In the trenches, he got mustard gas, and so he got the 100% disability. So he didn't have to work or do anything. He was taken care of. And I wondered about his attitude and everything. And then after coming back from Vietnam, I realized, oh, it is a war thing. It's not particularly aligned with just one war or any one war. All these guys go through this kind of trauma
Yeah, it's
and
a
they need the
terrible
help.
thing.
And the First World War guys didn't have it. They didn't have the stuff.
That mustard gas really affects
Affects the lungs.
their lungs.
Yes.
Can't breathe. It's a terrible thing too.
It's rough.
I'm glad that we have more help from the government
Yes.
as support now, but sometimes the government is the worst enemy for a war
Yeah.
because they say one thing in Washington and they don't supply the needs of the people that are
Yes.
serving in the war areas. So it's really a
It's a
challenge.
challenge for that. Yeah.
So and I'm really glad that you worked as a nurse for a long time. And but when I met you, you were doing massage therapy. There's a couple of years, several years,
Yes.
a few years. You
A few years ago. Yeah.
So why did you transition from being a nurse into doing physical massage therapy?
Well, it's actually it's a lateral transition because years ago in nursing, there actually was a lot of massage. I mean, it's not just the back rubs that you think of the nurses giving now. There was actually more physical contact and like that. And when I actually went to massage therapy school, it was considered to be a change of focus. So I didn't take it off my taxes, Uncle Sam, but, but I technically could have taken it off because I was changing the nursing profession into the massage stuff. It has since changed in the years that I've been in massage therapy, and you don't have that option anymore. But I was still working in intensive care, taking care of really sick people. And I was getting tired of telling him, this is going to hurt a little bit, whatever the care was we were doing for you. It was like, it's going to hurt a heck of a lot. And the bad news is it's only going to prolong your dying, but it's not going to make you better. That's why I have a very detailed living will.
Mm.
And I've covered all the bases. You can't do this. You can't do that. I don't want that. And I mean, I don't want that. So don't do it. Because I saw too much with the people and their families. You know, families are very manipulative and they're very manipulated because we're getting money off of you as a patient. Well, nowadays, thank goodness Medicare's not paying that much. You're only getting X amount of dollars, so they're willing to let you go. Well, yes, I want to be let go. I don't want to hang around there. I'm too old to be an organ donor. I'm using it up, folks. But I wanted to do the massage because I'd run marathons. I had run 3. So I knew how I felt when I finished a marathon. I may be slow and old and all. I mean, finishing 26.2 miles in 3 hours and 20 minutes. That was my best time. Hey, okay, I did it.
That's awesome.
You know, it was 4 hours and 10 minutes the first time, so I figured that's an improvement. And I liked the running. You know, you just get started, you just put one foot in front of the other, and you go on like that. But after that third race, it was in Jacksonville, Florida, and there was a massage school there. And she had her students there doing massages afterwards. Well, I told the girl where I hurt in my legs and everything, and she worked on them through the running tights that I was wearing. And I got off her table. I went, oh, heck, I can walk. I mean, I can walk. I still am sore, but I can actually walk, not like President Trump does the robot. That's about the way you feel after you finish 26.2 miles. And the next morning I could get up and I could really, I mean, I was still sore, but I could move so much better than I ever had after a marathon. I thought, this is wonderful. Let me go get another one. So I went to her instructor. She was actually working and she worked on me. And I thought, oh, wow. Now I had a Toyota Corolla. Y'all got to remember, this was a little Corolla. It's not the big Corolla they have out now. And I could get in that Corolla. And even better, I could get out of it a lot easier because I had to drive back home. That's a 12-hour drive then, folks, with pit stops along the way to get up and move and stretch your legs. And I said, this makes me feel so much better. It would be nice to make people feel good and not say this is going to hurt a little bit. I mean, yes, there are massages that you do that will cause pain, but the results is good. I just don't do them. I do not want to cause pain. I'm sorry. It took me a while to find a school up here. And then when I did, I was going like, yes, I'm going to do that. So that's why I transitioned out of nursing into massage therapy.
I think that's awesome. I'm sorry you didn't use your GI Bill to get a further education because that was one of your benefits.
Well, I mean, I could afford it. I'd saved the money. I could afford the massage school, and it was cheaper then.
Oh, well, that's true.
Yes, it was much cheaper then. That's why I could do it.
I think that's awesome. So is there any kind of wisdom that you want to share with our audience about your military experience or life experiences?
First of all, get it in writing if you're dealing with the government. Be sure you get it in writing and read the fine print because the government was honest. They honestly were honest. I'll have to grant that to them. They sent me to the first duty station. That's what they promised. There was nothing that said, and you'll stay there for your full term. And yes, the Vietnam experience was really good. It helped make my character. And life experiences, if you're having emotional issues that you can't seem to deal with, no, I don't think you're just a whiny person. You just don't have maybe the same upbringing that I did. Okay, you don't have my character. Get help. Talk to somebody. Talk to anybody. Find somebody who can help you.
Yeah, there's many places nowadays. It's really easy to find these locations, and they have veterans fairs all over the Tri-City. This is a wonderful state
or anybody, not even a veteran, anybody who has a
even the
problem.
spouses of family members, because most people don't realize the stress they're under when their husbands are gone for a while and they're home taking care of their family and finances, and they were probably ill prepared.
And then when your family member comes back from the military, from the experience, what you're going to have to deal with. And that may be a real stressor to you too. I mean, it can, because it's a team effort.
I think it's very important that anybody who is being dealt with things, that there are resources out there. Just don't hold it in, because it bubbles up and it makes you sicker. You have to let it go, and you have to have someone help you sometimes.
The release or the management of it can be a real problem. Because what bothers me the most is the suicides. Now, we had one suicide in Vietnam, and this guy tried it first, tried with the pills, and it was not successful, thank goodness. And we had him in. We hoped we'd gotten him stabilized and everything. And they sent him back into the field. And I said, he's going to do it again. It's going to be bad. And it was, because when he came in the next time, he was dead. Yeah. And that's bothered me too, as working in the civilian life. When I came back from Vietnam, the people, a lot of times, attempted suicides were just a cry for help. They were putting on, it's like, don't do something like this. Suicide is serious. Mm-hmm. It's very serious to me. I mean, as long as you're alive, we can work through whatever it is. We can do it. If you're dead, there's no way to work through. And it doesn't just affect you. It affects your whole circle of friends and family.
Yeah, because they don't say, what did I miss? How could I have done, what could I have done to prevent it?
Yes, so and it really is terrible like that to me. Mm-hmm. It's a personal thing. And if you've really seriously tried suicide, it's scary to me. I don't want you to do that again. Let's help you. Let's do something. That's why I say good drugs. I mean, yes, some people need good medications and good whatever it is. I have no problem with that. Whatever it takes to get them going, not just self-medicating. That's why so many people use the marijuana, the other illegal drugs, the alcohol. They're self-medicating.
Yeah, they need help,
They need help, and we need to help you.
yeah, and I know they feel that they're not worthy to get help, or
Yeah. Or they're angry or
they're
stuff.
angry, and
No,
it's help is extremely important, and
it
I
is
really
very important.
appreciate you sharing that with us. Um, is there anything else that you want to bring up?
No, I think that's all, Judy. It's been a very good experience here.
Thank you. I think I am really grateful that you are sharing this because there's a lot of Vietnam veterans are now opening up about their
Good.
experience. Before they held it in, and even my husband hadn't shared some of the experience that he had and kept it bottled up, it was such a good relief to see him finally open
Yes.
up because talking about it is the first phase of healing.
Yes, getting it out there and realizing, "Oh, okay," and seeing it in in words and actually kind of reliving it, and that's what this experience has been. It's like, "Oh my gosh, but that was so far back." Age kind of blurs and you forget things. You get more important things in your brain.
Well, I think, yeah, I think you did pretty good. So, sharing all these stories, and I'm grateful to your niece Gwen. I think she helped me out a lot with some of
Yes.
sending the pictures. You had sent them to her years
Yes.
ago, and so she sent me a few of them, and it helped spark some of your memories.
Oh, yes, remembering what happened then and stuff.
So,
That does. So I hope this will be a help to future generations who may have curiosity about the Vietnam War and what went on and, you know.
I do appreciate it. So, thank you very much, Lester, and I hope that you see our podcast on artistwriterteller.com podcast and support our friend, and maybe we can do some more of these talks in the future.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.